Hey guys, Dorky DIY Dad coming to you from my basement, which is where our laundry room happens to be. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a cheap way and a simple way to minimize the likelihood of a whole house flood being caused by your laundry room. So stick around. Alright, so how exactly do we do this? Well, we're going to talk about washing machine hoses today. So these are rubber hoses. These have been installed for 6+ years at our house. They were here before we moved in, put in by the previous owners, I'm assuming. Not exactly sure when they were last replaced. The rule of thumb I've always heard is about every 5 or so years you should be replacing these. These hoses, they're still generally in pretty good shape. They're not dry rotted. There aren't any bulges or any cracking. But when I was much younger, probably 10, 11 years old, we actually had one of the washing machine hoses in our laundry room break. And it probably only ran for about 15 or so minutes, but I'll show you at the end of the video what can happen when that does occur. But spoiler alert, it does cause a lot of damage in a very short amount of time, but we'll get to that a little bit more later. So what I'm going to be doing is replacing these rubber hoses with a stainless steel braided hose. Now, the advantage to the stainless steel braided hoses is just going to be durability. It might also look a little bit nicer as well, but again, we're in my basement, and as you can see from the background, it's kind of a mess down here, so function is more important than looks for me. So I will go ahead and get started. I already have one of the hoses on so you can see what it looks like. It's going to look pretty similar to the old one. Not much to do here. It's about as simple as hooking up your garden hose outside. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so you'll see the basic setup. I'm sure it's very similar to your washing machine. The locations of the water inlets might be different, but again, it's going to be the same basic idea. You have a cold and a hot line going right into the back of your washing machine, coming off the wall, and then that's how you get water into your washing machine to run a load of clothes. First thing you're going to want to do here is turn off both your hot and your cold. There's a chance that might just be one valve. It all just depends on how the plumber originally plumbed everything together. And then the next thing I like to do is actually remove this connection here first before I take this connection off. The reason for that is this connection is actually a little bit higher than the connection on my washing machine. So what that means is when I take this off first, there will still be a vacuum due to this connection being tightened. So that vacuum is actually going to hold a majority of the water still in the pipe. So just imagine if you had a cup of water and you put your finger over the end of a straw in the cup of water, and then you lift the straw out, and then you release your finger, all of that water in the straw is going to come out. Same basic idea here. So I start here with this one, and then let's see if I can get this off here. You'll hear a little bit of gurgling and couple drops of water are coming out, nothing too bad. And then in my case, I happen to have a very dirty sink here that our washer drains into. And then I will just disconnect this end here, and you'll see some water coming out, not a lot. And if it does spill on the floor, again, I'm in my basement, so not really a big deal, but you'll see how that vacuum just kind of held everything in place. So you've got that old hose out of the way. The next step here is you're going to grab your new hose, thread it on here, onto your cold, and then the other end here onto your washing machine inlet. Now, one thing you'll notice here is these are all plastic threads. So what I do is I first snug it down with my fingers, and then I'll take a pair of channel locks like this, and I'll give it maybe probably no more than 1/8 of a turn to just kind of snug it up. Again, this is all plastic, so you don't want to strip anything out. Plus the water pressure, I mean, it's relatively low. It's just household pressure. So you just kind of want to give it a snug there, and then you'll turn your water back on and check for leaks. So let me go ahead, get that set up, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to try and make this as exciting as possible, but the reality is it's not too terribly exciting. Again, you're really just connecting a hose to a fitting just like you would in your garage or near your garden. And you just want to tighten it up. Again, just kind of finger tight here, and then go in with some channel locks if you want to. I'd say that's optional. And then just snug it down. Again, probably 1/8 of a turn, maybe a 1/16. These are all plastic threads on the washer, so it's not going to take a whole lot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So you just want to make sure everything's tight one more time, and then all you're going to do is turn your water back on, and you'll hear that that pipe fill up, and just go in, check for leaks, and that looks good. So yeah, not too much here. Okay, so I had said at the beginning of the video I'd show you what could happen if one of these washing machine hoses were to break when it was under pressure and you didn't happen to be around. So as you can see, we've got the old hose still connected here. I could have done this with the new hose as well, but I figured might as well just use the old hose. So all I'm going to do is just turn on the valve all the way, and you'll see just how much water is coming out. And just want you to imagine, I'm only going to keep this on for a few seconds, but imagine this was running for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Worst case scenario, you're out of town and this happens. You could just imagine how much damage you're actually going to have. So you can see there's quite a bit of water coming out here, and it's not going to take much more than a few minutes to start causing some significant damage. So kind of the bottom line here is make sure you're checking these hoses on a somewhat regular basis. If you really want to be proactive, turn these valves off whenever you're not using your washing machine. I know that sounds a little extreme, but again, just all depending on where your laundry room is located in your house, you might want to go ahead and start taking that kind of precaution. Now, there are some devices where you can actually just shut off the water automatically whenever the washing machine is not being used. That's something you could always check your local hardware store for. Again, our laundry room's in the basement. I replace the hoses. I will be replacing the hoses somewhat regularly, and I can kind of keep an eye on them given the location of the washing machine relative to where the hoses are connected to the wall. So again, it all just kind of depends on how much risk you're willing to assume here. But there are devices, again, if you go to your local hardware store and just ask around, they should know exactly what you're looking for. So again, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. And until next time, I'm the Dorky DIY Dad.